Welcome to Here, the podcast where you get a VIP behind-the-scenes look at the broad collective of music venues and festivals that make Buffalo the music destination it is. I'm your host, Bentley. In this episode, we highlight the annual Beau Fleuve Arts and Music Celebration, founded in 2016 to showcase Buffalo's diverse creative talent across genres. Join us as founder Lindsey L discusses its mission, set against the iconic backdrop of Buffalo's Central Terminal. Taylor unites people through the power of music and performance art, making a lasting impact on the community. Installation artist Nekea Brown explores interactive art elements that add to the music. And Renata Toney reveals what makes the event special for fans beyond the day itself. Lindsey, I'm so excited to talk to you. Beau Fleuve is such an amazing festival. Tell me more about it. It's a music and art celebration. How did it start? Has it developed?
I come from a background of doing events, doing community engagement, creative placemaking. So it was back in 2014 where I literally made a Facebook post that said, hey, I want to create this music festival right here in Buffalo that you see across the landscape throughout the United States, throughout the country, right? Throughout the world. And, some former classmates from high school, from college, reached out and they tapped in and said, hey, let's do it, right? From there, for about a 2-year period or so, we really just put the whole idea together, kind of sat on it for a little bit, and then launched it in 2017. In 2017 is when we had our first inaugural Beau Fleuve Music and Arts Festival, at the time it was called, and that's where we really started from. And now it was a one-day music and arts celebration. Now we're here 8 years later, celebrating a full weekend of events.
So explain the name to me.
So, yes. So go back to the conception period, right? You talk about the conception period, right? You could have did Queen City, could have did Nickel City, could have did Buffalo Music. You could have did all of the city good names, all of the generic names, right? So really looking at the names, came across both of them like, that's unique, right? And I wanted to be unique. I wanted to be a conversation piece, right, for people to have a talk. So as we're talking, what is that? How do you say it? And I've heard it say it every way possible. I heard it every from Blue Flame to every people didn't know how to say it. I've heard every way how to kind of say it, right? Am I saying it correctly? And I've seen it where people are just reading it in the airport and saying, I know what that means. So I've always give credit to our indigenous people right here in the Western New York area, from Doshia Way, which is actually the region's name from our natives who are right here, was the prehistoric name. But if you look also in Buffalo's history through some of the tell times, all right, they mentioned Beau Fleuve, right? When, you had settlers that were coming here to the area and they're describing the beautiful flowing rivers, which is what Beau Fleuve means, and describing the area. And then it even mentions that where, it's hard to say. So that kind of transition into be called Buffalo, where, give or take, people think that Buffalo's named after a particular animal, but, it has some remnants from there. So that's really where it's at. And we really cherish that with, being a beautiful flowing river, and, just having this connection to the area. So, yeah.
And it will be right here at the Central Terminal.
Yeah.
Explain some of the musical acts you've had in the past. I know that one of them that, is actually an international star now, Danielle Ponder, actually performed one of the years. Can you explain how you choose the artists, what the variety of the artists, different genres?
Yeah, so we really, what our mission statement is to stand on the pillars of diversity, to build the bridges of the community through the arts. So we do that. We try to emulate that in everything that we do. So when we talk about a musical selection, we want to have a very diverse lineup of artists. So you'll hear anything from country to R&B to hip hop to gospel to jazz. You hear it all, right? And when you hear all those, you'll bring on all those demographics of people as well too, right? And we also, when we're looking at that, our niche is to really find like artists that are emerging on the rise, right? We're not necessarily looking for the A-list or the B-list, right? We're looking for those artists who are, hey, you're going to see them here, and then 5-6 months, you're going to see them on a national stage, right? And that has been proven throughout our last 8 years, right? As you just mentioned, Danielle Ponder, right? I just congratulated her yesterday on, performing in front of 20,000 people in the Edmonton Festival, right? Up in Canada, right?
Yeah.
She's performing on major jazz stages and in major festivals around the world. She even performed on Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about these artists, and literally that happened 6 months after she was here at Beau Fleuve, right? We've had other artists such as Benny the Butcher, who's now renowned. He even had performances with Eric Milhoot and DJ T Jizzle. We even had, Manny Fresh come here. We've had a host of other artists that have graced our stages, and you've been able to see them on a much larger platforms. And we really cherish that, right? And I love to see that because people can say, oh, I remember I see them there, and they can mimic and they can, have that nostalgic feeling of that. Yeah.
And it seems to be, especially with the music, a very distinct festival that can draw people from outside of Buffalo. Yeah. Why is it important to have it at a place like Buffalo Central Terminal?
Yeah. So it's a part of the resurgence, right? And that was really one of our standpoints in the beginning, right? At that time when I talked about the conceptual period, right, we were thinking about doing something where you're talking about these A-list, these B-list artists and acts that you see across the landscape, right? But during that conception period, it was like, wait, we actually have a lot of rich talent that is right here in Buffalo. Not only that, but there's a resurgence of talent, right? People kind of, stick to Buffalo, which is, the Rick James of the world, right? And kind of mimicking there. But Buffalo has a really rich history. And at the time when we were, cultivating that thought of Beau Fleuve, there was a resurgence of younger artists that were coming up. Many of those artists that we're talking about now, right? You talk about, even with Vinzella Joy, who, opened up for Beyonce her historic Coachella performance, right? So you had all of these artists that really just were, during that period of time, we were growing, and we wanted to have that niche and really connect that resurgence to the history of Buffalo, right? So that's why we were at Silo City. Silo City had a very rich fabric within Buffalo's history. And now we're here at the Buffalo Central Terminal, which has the rich fabric in Buffalo's history connected with the resurgence. So I think it's just a perfect blend both of those.
And this festival is very accessible to people. And why is that important to keep that going? And is that possible through sponsors? Because you do a lot of hard work to make sure that this can happen and that it is a community event that anybody can go to.
Yeah. So our thing is family fun event, right? All ages can go. As early as we've seen newborns, we've seen 3-year-olds, we've seen 2-year-olds, right? We've seen grandparents, we've seen aunts, we've seen every age demographic really come out and celebrate with us, right? We've seen all variety of nationalities and backgrounds really come out. And that has to do a part into what we really cherish with making sure that, everybody feels welcome, everybody feels included, right? And we really try to strive to do that.
And behind the scenes, you do a lot of hard work too. You have to pay these artists. You have to create stages here in this space. What kind of work have you done to get sponsors and community involved in investing in this festival?
Right. So it's a lot of development work, right?
Yeah.
You talk about business and partnership development, really a true grassroots effort, right? Because as we talk about, you're having this niche market of having these artists who are on the rise, right? So it's not that big ticket sticker item to a lot of larger corporations or larger businesses, right? It's not I see such and such is coming, let's throw the dollars here. You have to really tell the story of each and every artist, tell the story of the brand, right? And really tell the story of what we're trying to do in the mission and the driven work that we're trying to do. So when you're doing that, right, we're building it authentically. We're building it in a very unique and genuine way so that, you're seeing a retention of partners staying, a long time because they actually see the authentic work. It's not just a one-shot wonder, but, it's all warranted, right? So we talk about, we want to make sure that, all of our artists are compensated in some type of way. How can we try to compensate them in some type of way, right? How can we make sure that we can make this accessible as possible, right, to our community at large? So even though that it is a ticketed event, we do also offer a lot of different other programs for, a lot of the community that's right here in the Broadway Fillmore neighborhood through the block clubs and through our community centers, a lot of other avenues. So we try to make it super affordable, and the proceeds that we do get, we really try to push that to our community work that we do.
This festival is very important to the community, but it's also important to music and culture outside of the community as well. Why do you see this as such an important festival?
I think it's important because, as I always say, there's a few bridges within the community, right? Buffalo is a very diverse city. We know that the region has a very diverse throughout the whole region. At the same time, it can be very segregated, right? But music, arts, and culture are one of those bridges where people will come together for a day at times that you can see them drop their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, right, their personal beliefs, right? And they want to come out and enjoy something together. And when you can see that coming together, you can see communities connecting, collaborating, meet each other right here on these grounds, right? I hear stories all the time. Hey, I met this person at Beau Fleuve, now we connected, now we've been able to grow, right? So we're able to see that, and those two people may or may not have been able to connect in any other aspect, but the fact that they did it here means more, so, yeah.
What are your hopes for the future of Beau Fleuve and how it will connect the rest of the world back to Buffalo's music scene? And what do you see as being Buffalo's music scene?
For myself and our board and our team, we're going through a vigorous strategic planning, right? Because, I strongly believe in succession planning, right? So this shouldn't live or die with me. This should be able to carry on to the next generation. So I do want the next generation to take this on and give it even more life, right, for generations to come. Our foundation is regional artists, right, and regional musicians, right? But we've been inviting others from across the world and across the country to come right here to Buffalo. So you're talking about people coming from New York City, people coming from Toronto, Mississippi, Atlanta, from across the world that are saying they're coming to Buffalo, right, for this event called Beau Fleuve, where most people read it, they don't know how to say it, so they're trying to figure out where this artist is going, right? And then they're going to Buffalo, what's happening here, right? So that's already eyeballs on what's happening here, right? And then now we talk about part of that succession planning, right, is the world to Buffalo and bringing people to Buffalo. Is that, we're exploring right now advancing chapters into other markets, right, where it has, similar makeup like Buffalo does, right, and that they can, basically have our have our imprint in those other markets and then bringing those right here to the area. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsey. You are truly a gifted person that we're so lucky to have, and we're so lucky to have this festival. And I look forward to talking to you about this every year.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. After discussing the festival's goal of providing a harmonious connection between music and other art forms with Lindsey, I wanted to hear from Nekea Brown, one of the artists who's lived this experience. Nekea, I'm very excited to talk to you as one of the installation artists at Beau Fleuve. So this will be your second year. Can you explain what Beau Fleuve is to you as an artist?
It's a really important event. I'm originally from Canada, and so coming here and being introduced to a festival like this is really great. There's a lot of opportunities that came from it. And yeah, I love watching the other artists as well, whether it's music or like selling pieces of art. I just love it all.
So you're a visual artist, but does music also impact your art, especially when you're here at a music festival?
Definitely. I always like to incorporate the surroundings into my art pieces. And I kind of just, get a little vibe from what I'll be seeing, what I'll be experiencing, and then I just build from there.
I love it. So in your experience, how can art installations complement other art forms and also help to bring people together in a community atmosphere like this?
I think just having beautiful interactive pieces again really help. And, you hear the music and you get to enjoy the food and buy art. And I think that having like a photo memory to take home just ties everything together. And that's how people could really enjoy every little aspect that's going on.
How did you get involved with the festival? Did Lindsey find you?
Yes. So I did a piece for the Buffalo State Fashion Show, and their director, Erin, she posted my work, and I think Lindsey seen it and was like, okay, I need to have something like that
for my festival.
Yeah. And that's how I got started.
So we talked to Lindsey about the musical artists and what that does for some of those artists and how those artists have gone on to do bigger things. What do you think a festival like this does for the arts community that you're involved in?
I think that it creates an opportunity for other festivals. I think also Lindsey's really good at promoting us and make sure that our names are out there.
And did you get, I think you mentioned you get opportunities, you've gotten opportunities from doing this festival.
Yes, I have. Someone asked for me to do a restaurant, just a little floral piece, but it still meant a lot because it was from this festival that he noticed me.
Yeah. What are your hopes for this festival in terms of an emerging art scene and other artists visiting here?
Just to really come here and enjoy Buffalo as a city, because it really is a great city. There's a lot, it has a lot to offer people. And like myself, I'm not from here, so I don't want to leave. I enjoy the artists, I enjoy the food, I enjoy the activities that Buffalo has. And this festival is one of the great many things that Buffalo does have to offer.
After speaking with Lindsey and Nekea about the festival's impact from behind the scenes, I sought a fan's perspective. I found the perfect guest, Renata Toney, Visit Buffalo Niagara's VP of Destination Experience, who has attended the festival 4 times and knows the best spots for locals and tourists alike. Renata, I am so excited to talk to you. Lindsey Taylor told me that you were the fan of Beau Fleuve that I needed to talk to. How many times or how long have you been going to the festival?
Well, yes, I would consider myself probably a seasoned fan, more of the more seasoned fans in age of his. But I started going to Beau Fleuve about 4 years ago at Silo City when my son was performing at that year's presentation of it. And my son invited me to come down, and I thought, well, yeah, I'll go down for like an hour or two and stroll through and, go home. And it ended up being, I left that night at 10 o'clock. I had such an amazing experience down there. So I've been a loyal fan ever since then.
You've been 4 different times, were you saying?
This year will be my 4th one.
And when you're going to the festival, you said you don't even look at the lineup.
No, because I don't look at the lineup because the majority of the acts I'm just not familiar with. I give him so much credit for bringing in new emerging talent, but they are at the top of their game. Everyone he does introduce me to every year. And they're all so creatively just spirited.
Yeah.
Also, I think there's a message in a lot of what they say that is impactful to the audiences that attend. And I just think he does an amazing job of curating wonderful groups.
Yeah. Now, in your work life, you are a tourism and arts professional. What are some of the things that stand out to you in a broader sense about this festival?
Well, what makes me excited about Beau Fleuve is because of the fact, as we know, the music scene in Buffalo is very, historical, it's deep, and it's extremely varied. And working at Visit Buffalo Niagara, we know the potential of how the music scene has really, really branded other cities and really created change and attracted thousands and thousands of visitors. And Beau Fleuve is a catalyst that can make that happen. We have a ton. I mean, come on, how many festivals can we keep up with here in Buffalo?
Yeah. What kind of gap do you feel that Beau Fleuve actually fills in the festival scene and music scene?
Lindsey, I think it's the culture. Lindsey has a very broad social conscious that he wants people to understand and know. Buffalo traditionally has been a very segregated city. And what I love about his programming, and I'll call it programming, is that it's not just a festival. It starts like a month ahead. And he creates a number of just amazing experiences for people to come together and get to know each other. And I cannot tell you the number of just wonderful, kind, spirited people that I have met over the past 4 years that I now see every year. We laugh, everybody's smiling, everybody's having a good time. So what he's doing too is that I think he is heightening a sense of community, a culture within his own following that you'll find, wow, when you go to Lindsey's events, it's like meeting twins, like his twins. They're everybody is just equally kind, funny, spirited, they have a great sense of humor, and they're just all happy to be together. And I've met so many people from so many different backgrounds through him.
And what do you think the significance is of keeping this in the city of Buffalo and also of having it at Central Terminal?
Well, let me start first. I am a proud product of Buffalo's East Side. I am all East Side. I grew up on the East Side. I moved away to North Buffalo for many years, came back after inheriting a family home, moved back. I'm chair of East Side Garden Walk, so I am pro East Side all the way. I've been with Retree. I've planted trees over at the terminal. So, this is like coming home, and I'm so excited about the energy that Beau Fleuve brings here, all the development that is taking place around it. And it couldn't be a better place. It couldn't be a better fit as they start to redevelop the terminal. We'll see. I hope we stay here for a long time.
What would you say to somebody that may be traveling from outside of Buffalo that sees this festival and says, I want to check that out, or wants to come to Buffalo to check out the music scene? What would you say to somebody outside of the area about this?
I would tell them to expect the fun and unexpected.
Yeah.
Okay? And also, you have this amazing lineup of talented performers with the backdrop of such an amazing historical building that has so many stories that hopefully they will renovate all of them so we can tell them on the inside one day.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a better place for him to be. And so many people are on this side of town are so joyful to have him here.
Well, thank you for spending time with us, Renata. I look forward to being at the festival and seeing you here in your element.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. That wraps up this episode of Here Here. Be sure to check out more episodes on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Buffalo is a unique music destination, and we uncover it all on Here Here. This program is produced by Buffalo Toronto Public Media for Visit Buffalo Niagara. I'm Bentley. Thanks for listening.